All right, welcome to the very next episode of our Live Well Hervey Bay podcast series, brought to you by Social Shift, making change together here in our community. And it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome Maddie Dodd here with us today. She's from the local PCYC, and we're going to be talking about all things youth today in our community, youth prospects, youth programs, and everything that falls underneath that banner. How are you, Maddie?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, wonderful. Now, okay, let me just say to you that when I think PCYC, I might be showing my age here, I think dusty old boxing gloves and bags in the Western Sydney suburbs and Jeff Fennick and all the rest of it. But that's obviously not the case. There's a very sophisticated organisation here in Hervey Bay with the PCYC. Could just give us a bit of an idea of the breadth of what you guys are doing up there?
So as a whole in Queensland, PCYC has 56 clubs across the state, which is a pretty massive organisation. We are a charitable non-for-profit organisation as well. So I don't think a lot of people really understand that.
Okay.
Which makes things interesting because we heavily rely on community donations, sponsorships,
yes,
and all those type of things to be able to fund programs for our youth in the community. So when people are buying a gym membership or signing up to gymnastics and things like that, that's what keeps the youth side running for us. So if we don't have community supporting us in that way, then our youth programs will fall apart.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a general statement, and I'm going to say if I ask the average person in the street who funds the PCYC, they would say the police force.
Yeah.
Which is not right.
Yeah. So we are an organisation that does work with the Queensland QPS, obviously, heavily,
yes,
to help build those safer, healthier communities as well, and the youth crime prevention, all that type of stuff. But yeah, we definitely need sponsorships, community donations, and all that type of stuff.
Well, it's such a valuable resource for the community as well. I know you guys did a huge refurbishment of the gym up there a couple of years ago, and there's all sorts of sports and activities and stuff get played there. What is your sort of area of expertise, I suppose, of your focus at the PCYC?
So I am on the youth program side of things, not the commercial side. Over there, I run the Get Set for Work program, which is a program that is funded by the Department of Small Business and Training, Skilling Queenslanders for Work. It's a program for 15 to 19-year-olds that are disengaged from school.
Okay.
Yeah. So I run them every school term.
Yes.
And we have 10 in a group, and they're 5 days a week for 10 weeks. So it's pretty heavy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I think about kids who are in that age bracket, who are disengaged from school, being asked to turn up to a program 5 days a week, how does that work out?
I'm going to say, for me, pretty well.
Okay.
I've been in PCYC 2 years in April, and I've hit 80 out of 80 for my program.
Fantastic.
It's just all about building that rapport and that connection, and I probably can say that when it comes to them, I get down on their level.
Right.
I'm not super professional in a fancy uniform.
Of course.
I'm there to help them and be that person to help and mentor them. So,
are there particular common traits amongst the youth that come into these programs that was either assisted them to become disengaged or lost interest in school or whatever the case may be? Are there things that you look at that and you go, yeah, I can kind of get it? That's a common theme that runs through these programs.
Yeah. I think one thing that definitely stands out would be the massive anxiety.
Okay.
That I suppose those older generations really aren't aware of or understand what anxiety is and how it can impact youth.
Yes.
So that is a massive, massive thing. Like I get some youth that come through and can't even walk in the door and struggle to do that. So
Yes.
That would be a really big thing as well. I'm also going to say things like different behaviours in the form of maybe undiagnosed ADHD and things like that. And I suppose schools may not have a massive understanding on that, or they're struggling to go to school because of those reasons. they can't sit and concentrate all day.
Right.
And they just say they can't sit there.
Yep.
They can't concentrate. They don't learn that way. So, yeah. And just home life as well can be a massive struggle. Mental health. A lot of young people don't open up to their parents or carers. So they are struggling with that anxiety and depression. And people probably think they're just being a normal teenager in their room gaming. So that all plays a massive part.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Look, we've done a few episodes of this podcast already, and we started off this morning with a lady called Kirsty Key who was talking about our ageing community and how important it was for intergenerational interactions to continue to happen, to make sure that younger people don't feel isolated just to their core group. And we've also had Darren Bosley from Fraser Coast Mates as well. And he was talking about really how mental health just doesn't discriminate. It's male, female, old, young, whatever the case may be. And I just wonder whether, young people of today, because life now, certainly, I mean, you're obviously a lot younger than me, but whether life is lived at such a pace now, and everyone's on their phones 24/7 and all the rest of it, that there's no real downtime for these kids. There's no Discord or unplug. And as a parent myself, like I look at kids, my own kids, and they're on their devices all the time and all the rest of it. And I rationalise that by saying to myself, okay, well, that's the way their social outlets are now. And just because I don't understand it well enough or accept it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I wonder if some of those things can be drivers for those, those levels of anxiety, and we're not living up to the expectations of other people. Am I living a life that's not as great as everybody that is on social media portraying?
Yep.
There must be a whole lot of stuff that goes into
it's all the comparison to
getting these kids to where they need to be in a program like yours.
Yeah. And bullying has been a major thing as well.
Yeah.
Which also probably does stem from social media things as well, because if they're on the phone all the time, they're comparing themselves to others, or they're probably getting bullied online as well as at school. There is no connection like there used to be, I suppose, when you used to have family dinners around the table with no phones and talk about your day and that type of thing. Now it's probably the standard teenager probably goes home, gets on their phone, goes in their room, comes out for dinner, goes back in their room.
Yes.
So that definitely plays, Yeah,
it's really interesting. It's changing times, and I think on both sides of the coin, you can't just put your head in the sand and say, well, I want everything to be like it was before, because it's not going to be. And, my kids grew up in a time when they didn't know a life without the internet.
Yeah.
So they look at me and wonder, what on earth did I do?
Yeah.
How did you live your life and all the rest of it? So, so kids that might fall into the demographic that would be eligible for your program, how do they find out about it? How do they engage? And do you find them, or do they have to find you? How do you get your customers, so to speak?
We have a pretty well-oiled machine at the moment. We are quite successful with the program.
Yep.
So it is word of mouth. I do go to like a youth alliance meeting every month as well.
Yep.
The schools, flyers. So we try and advertise as much as we can.
Sure.
A lot of it is word of mouth and social media. And it's kind of a little bit refreshing in a way too, because I get a lot of probably a little bit older, like the 16, 17, that self-refer.
Right. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Like, are they getting dobbed in for it, or are they looking at it and going, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I reckon I could benefit from that.
Yeah. And a lot of them think that I am like school. We're nothing like school.
Yeah, okay.
We do everything in the way of team building, social skills, mental health, sexual health, alcohol and other drugs awareness, everything you need to prepare yourself for work.
Right.
That's the aim of this program, is to get them into employment
right.
or further education.
Okay, so it's a bridge from school's not really working out for me.
Yeah.
And I know what that feels like. I left school when I was 15.
Yeah.
Mind you, that was in 1988. It was very socially acceptable back then.
Yeah.
So it's building a bridge between school ain't my gig, but I needed to get a job and maybe I don't have the tools for it because I haven't been through the system.
All of that. So we help with IDs. They do a Cert 2 in work and vocational placement. They do work experience. We have guest speakers come in all the time from all walks of life, business owners. But yeah, we pay for all their clothing for interviews, everything you can think of as a stepping stone. We're there to help them get that. A lot of them can't even, due to anxiety, go to an interview because of the fear of that. Or ring a business and
is it a fear of failure or rejection, or
I think it's everything,
all of it.
And because of the whole, on the phone and technology of gaming, they don't know how to have that connection via
a one-to-one conversation.
They don't know how to speak for themselves or speak up or communicate. So it's nice to see them come in such their shell and just start to flourish towards the end of it and get employment or little things of, for example, I have one young man who never had a birth certificate and he was 17.
Right.
So that means you couldn't have you can't get a bank card. You couldn't get your driver's license. Nothing.
Yes.
So we helped him through that whole process, and something little like that, to hear me said to me when I got his birth certificate, I'm a real person now.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's little things like that that make me know that what I'm doing is worth it.
I can see that. I can tell by your demeanour and that you've really leaned into this, that it's something that brings you purpose. And I think when you have a job, whether it's your own or you're working for somebody else, if it doesn't really bring you purpose to do that work, you'll never be really good at it. You're just doing it to
survive,
pay rent, pay your mortgage, buy food, turn the lights on, drive the car. But if you're doing something that you really enjoy, then it makes a huge difference to you, but it also makes a massive difference to the people that you're serving in whatever capacity that you're serving them in, because you're better at it.
And that's another point I say to them. I'm not here to hit a KPI for you. I'm here to be your mentor and a person you can come to. I'm not going to go throw you in a job anywhere for you to hate it and get a bad work ethic and reference. Let's work out what you really want to do. Let's do the stepping stones to get there and get you on that path.
It's such a powerful position for you to come from, and I don't mean that in that there's a power imbalance between you and the kids. What I mean by that is you're almost like in a job where you set a standard for yourself that is above and beyond whatever standards a PCYC may set for you. And when that's the case, you'll do the job to such a satisfying level for your students that they can't help but come out of it successfully, because people know if it's transactional. Like, I'm just doing this because I have to do it, or I need to sell this to you to make a commission, or I need to do this or do that. People know. But if you are relaxed and comfortable, and I'm doing it because I love it, and if you do business with me, you do, and if you don't, it won't change my life. Then they feel more relaxed as a natural result, and then they will gravitate to you. I think it's one of the great skills to master in life, no matter whether you're working for somebody else or you're in business for yourself. If you can do that, then you'll always do really well. I mean, 80 out of 80 it's not a fluke.
They may not realize it, but they teach me as well, and everyone who's come through that door has left a footprint in my life, and it's really nice to have those relationships, because even those young people who have come through my program a year or year and a half ago, they still come and visit me, or they may have had a baby really young, and I go and see them in my own time, and they still have that contact with me. And one of them said to me when I first met him on my first program, and I was a fish out of water. I've never worked with youth in my life.
Of course.
And she said to me, you actually care. Every other program is, we get thrown around from program to program, and then you get kicked out and you get referred to somewhere else. And I think for youth too, it's just, they do feel so isolated because they're so misunderstood as well. So it's just trying to rewire, I suppose, the older generation, my generation as well, your brain to, when they're acting the way they're acting, not so much saying, oh my God, what did they do that for?
Sure.
Change your thought process to what's happened to them. What have they been through?
How did they end up where they ended up?
Yeah. Why are they acting like this and having an outburst? What's happened to them to be doing that outburst?
So how do kids get in? How do they actually get into it? Like I know that you were saying earlier that, you know, kids can self-refer themselves into the program. What does that look like? Where do they go? What do they do? Who do they talk to?
So the referral will come to PCYC or it just gets emailed to me.
How does that? Who do they get to do the referral? How do they?
If it's from the school will do it. A parent can ring up and ask for a referral.
Okay.
Anyone can ring me and I can email it straight to them.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then, we make contact with them and get them in to do intake paperwork, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And explain the program. And then, that's it. We have a start date and we get started. So, we do a lot of fun. It's not all work.
Sure. Yeah.
We do a lot of team building and go gel balling and, whatever it may be, laser tag and all that stuff as well. We try to do a lot of fun stuff. Yeah. Then they start to realize it isn't like school and they're not.
Yep.
And we feed them every day. So that's also a bonus as well. They generally just start to also, at the start, it's that awkward silence, which I hate.
Sure.
But it's nice because as they go through it, they start to make those connections within the small group, which is really nice to see. And most of them do keep in contact afterwards as well with a few of them. So they build that friendship while there as well, which is really good to see.
It's good. I mean, there's clearly science and an art to what it is that you're doing. Because to be able to continue to do it at the successful level that you're doing it at, you've got it sussed. You've figured out the code to engage with these kids who really, let's be honest, they wouldn't be there if other people had figured that out before they got to your shop.
Yeah.
So that's a feather in a cap for you. But to be able to then to consistently deliver those same results. And I'm sure, undoubtedly, from time to time, that kids say to you, Maddie, this is all shit and I don't want to do it anymore, That's a different thing, isn't it? Like it's one thing to, get them in and think it's all going to be sweet, but I'm pretty sure it's not always sweet.
No. I've had my fair share of them telling me where to go and,
of course.
But I don't mind. I give it back.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm real with them,
yeah.
which I think they don't think I'm going to be because they might see me as a teacher at first.
Sure.
But I'm so raw and honest with them. So I think that's why they do trust me and they do come back. And when they say they don't want to come back, we work through that.
Yeah.
And I am really honest in the way of, okay, so if you don't want to be here and you don't want to be at school, what's your plan? Do you want to be in the same position you're in now in the next 2 years? What do you want to do? Do you want to sit at home and be gaming for the next 2 years? Are you going to live off Centrelink? Do you want anything out of your life? Like, how are you going to feel if you've got a friend that started an apprenticeship and is fully qualified in the next 4 years and you're still in the same position?
When I think about, and this might really upset the education community, right? But this is what I think about when you describe this program to me, is that I think teachers who go into, say, high schools, for instance, and with the great intention of being able to make a positive contribution to every child that comes in to under their scope, all of a sudden finds out that they don't have 20 kids in their class, they've got 25 and now I've got 30 and now I've got 35, and high schools are bursting, public high schools in Hervey Bay in particular, are bursting at the seams. Yeah. And that's no longer possible. It's not fair to the kids and it's not fair to the teachers. And when you're not getting the job satisfaction that you want because you can't make the differences that you thought that you wanted to make when you went through uni to become a teacher, it's human nature that you will become disenfranchised with that process. And it's hard. Like what you now are not getting job satisfaction yourself. But what you're doing is it's almost like on a macro but micro level at the same time, because you're making big changes, but to a smaller group of people. So you can be 1-to-1 with everyone. I mean, if it was 1-to-1 with everyone in in a state-funded school environment, I'm sure the outcomes would be significantly different than what they currently are. But that's not the world that we live in.
No, and a lot of them, what I find interesting, I mean, I graduated in 2011, I think it was. A lot of the things we do, they say, why aren't they teaching this in school?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. That's not a me question. But some of them have no idea what tax is, what super is. Yeah. I've had people ask if they've got their own bank account so we can organise to get paid into that bank account. And some of them turned around and said, what do you mean? What's a bank card? And that just baffles me sometimes because it also breaks my heart because, that's what there is this massive misunderstanding with youth, I think, and some of them are lacking the most simplest things at home and knowledge, basic things that we're all grateful for and have been able to have growing up that we think that everyone probably gets.
Sure.
But they don't have it all.
Well, my wife and I, we've had a tribe of kids go through high school. And you always get to that sort of end of year 10 scenario where, well, let's pick all the subjects that we're going to do to, back in my day it was called a TE score. I'm sure probably no one will even remember what that is. But, you can get this many points for doing this subject and this subject. So you can take, ancient history or whatever. I mean, I've been in business for 30 years. No one has ever asked me a question about ancient history. Yeah. So why aren't we putting practical things on there, like how to budget to stay alive, how to eat healthy, how to live in a healthy life, or how to all of those things which are the bare essentials of how to live a happy existence. Yeah. And it sounds to me like that's what this program is about. Like it's
how to be an adult.
It's real stuff
in this world.
Yeah.
How to live in this world. So it is a little bit disheartening, but we try and make the difference that we can with the young people that do come through our program.
Yeah, I don't know. I see it differently. For me, I see it as very heartening. That there is a program like this that can wrap their arms around youth that, are disenfranchised in some way and maybe perhaps not of their own doing.
Yeah.
Because we all came into the world exactly the same way.
Yeah.
So something happens to all of us along life's journey that shapes the people that we become. And just because we might be a certain someone at a certain age doesn't mean that we can't chip away at the edges, because there is the ability for someone else to come out from inside that.
Yeah.
But someone needs to recognise that, and someone needs to help us do that. And that doesn't change. The older you get, it never changes. You're always looking for improving yourself, whether that be by coaching or training, or doesn't matter. We always want to do that. But this is a great program at a real grassroots level at PCYC.
Yeah, some of them have come from homes where their parents may just be living off Centrelink and have never worked. So they have no idea what work ethic is, or they don't even see that as an opportunity or potential for themselves. They just think that's how life is.
Yeah, well, in the same way that, if you look at, say, intergenerational wealth, and, America is the capital of this, that if you have intergenerational wealth, by the third generation, the money is gone.
Yeah.
But, in Australia, we might very well have problems with intergenerational reliance on government-funded programs, which is maybe not even the fault of the people who are getting it.
Yeah.
And, my heart goes out to all of those people, but there sometimes needs to be circuit breakers in that to changes that.
Yeah.
It sounds like your program is absolutely one of those.
Yeah. So it is. We are making impact. Wish we could, I wish I could take them all in.
Is there scope to make it bigger? Why can't you do or is it just all come down to a bit of the day rate? You need more money to make it bigger. Or does it, if it's bigger, it makes it worse because there's more kids and it's not as one-to-one?
It comes down to our application and the government with what they decide and if we get approved or not. So because we are through Department of Small Business and Training, we have to apply every year and get accepted or not.
At a state or federal level? Not sure.
I believe it's state.
I would say it would be state.
Yeah. I'm not good with that stuff.
It doesn't matter. There's a state election coming up this year, so
there could be, and I think that's the part that I sometimes struggle with is there could be a chance that I won't get funded next year.
Right.
And this program won't be in Hervey Bay anymore.
Regardless of the significant 80 out of 80.
It comes down to whether they approve it or not. So, yeah, because that's who we get our funding from. If that were to change, it might change, but that's the risk we have to take every year.
How interesting is that? Because I could probably absolutely guarantee you that if the government put money into a program where kids got 100 out of 100 for their ATAR, then they'd be lining up to say, we just can't do this. We cannot not fund this. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I have been extremely lucky and just been funded for our new program.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Tell us about
which is, I suppose my baby. So it's the first of its kind in Hervey Bay. That'll be a program for 15 to 25-year-olds.
Okay.
Which are involved in crime, on that path, known to police, and it is a 12-month full mentor support program for them.
Okay.
So that's going to kick off in April. Wow. So hopefully we'll be able to advertise that really soon.
Yep.
But the whole point of that program is to change their path and help them change that path and break that cycle.
Yep.
So everything you can think of that they're lacking or haven't had the opportunity to, we're going to help with. So it will all be the most simple things of life, of helping them with their IDs, court support, appointments, family support, everything you can think of that these people don't have opportunities for or money for. We would do things like equine therapy, the mental health, all the things like we do on Get Set for Work. So that's, it's going to be hopefully a big impactful program. So I'm really looking forward to it to see how it's going to work and what we can do for our community in that way. So
I think the fact that it spreads a little bit older too, in terms of the age bracket, is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, there are, kids, male and female, in their early 20s who don't display being further ahead in life than kids who are 15 or 16. You know, and that's a society issue. So it's not necessarily all of their fault.
Yeah.
So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. I'm excited. So we'll work on all their goals and what they want to achieve, and hopefully because it is 12 months, we'll go through the stages, and hopefully by the end of it we can get them into employment and really help them set them up for a different path.
How will people find out about that program?
We're going to do a lot of advertising.
Okay, fair enough.
Within the next month. So and they will do a Cert 1 in construction as well.
Okay.
They're going to build their tool belt.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to get their white card and certificates and RSA, RSGs and stuff like that to, have that feeling of success and achievement along the way. We will be advertising for that hopefully next month. We're hopefully going to kick off in April.
What a great step forward for young people to be able to get access for that.
Yeah, it'll be a big pilot program. So
okay, wonderful. As a part of this Live Well podcast series, we, on behalf of the person who's given up their valuable time to come along today, we give a donation to a local, charity or sporting group, not-for-profit organisation, community group. Who are you going to pass your donation on to?
I'm going to nominate ourselves, PCYC Youth Programs.
100%.
Purely because we do have other programs running at the moment. One of them is our drop-in that we do. Yeah. We do one on a Monday afternoon, and we're also moving forward into after dark. So we will be doing boxing after dark for youth. Yeah. And we're bringing back the good old PCYC discos.
Oh, look now, the blue light disco from back in the day.
Yeah. So there's a lot of exciting things happening within that space and a lot of ideas for the youth who are disengaged.
Yes.
And to do that, any of these activities, we need community support and donations.
Sure. So how can people do that? How can people who might be listening to this who aren't a prospect to be a part of one of the programs but think, hey, man, that's a great idea. I'm happy to donate to that. What are they going to do? How can they do it?
Literally just get in contact with our local PCYC and ask to speak to myself, Maddie, or Lee, if Lee's our programs club manager. So if she's not around, they can ask for myself. And yeah, we can just have that conversation. So we have an amazing relationship with Rotary.
Yes.
I am going to shout out to them.
Why not?
I can't describe the help that they have started giving us and the money they have donated. Things like we don't have funds to be able to go buy new basketballs for drop-in. Kitchens.
Yeah.
I don't have an oven. So we feed these kids every day, which makes it hard. So Rotary are amazing at giving us funds, and we recently were able to buy a brand new barbecue.
Okay.
For drop-ins, we feed them as well, so they can come shoot hoops for free and we give them a feed. We've bought a whole heap of kitchen supplies, new basketballs, volleyballs. So it's things like that that go such a long way, which I think people don't realise. That we don't have the money for.
Yep.
We don't have money to buy resources to be able to run these youth programs. And things like food. So Rotary have been amazing at randomly dropping off sausages and bread.
Of course.
Or, you know, we might get a Woolies gift card here and there, which means we can go buy more food and cordial and stuff for things like these drop-ins. So, it goes an extremely long way, and it just means if we have these funds from community or businesses and all those support, we can continue to run them.
Sure.
Like ideally we want to be doing school holidays programs every school holidays to get them off the streets. So that is our aim and that is our goal, to help build those healthier, safer communities. It goes a long way, even if people don't think it does. It's the little things like that.
Well, the youth get a bit of a beating up in media for lots of different reasons all of the time. So I'd be stunned if the government doesn't think this is a value proposition to continue.
Well, our youth drop-in, for example, we started last term. We started with 9 kids on a Monday. So we do it when the local school finishes early.
Yep.
We started with 9 kids and we're now getting between 55 and 60.
Yeah.
So it is making an impact. It's growing. Another thing we rely heavy on with PCYC is volunteers.
Yes.
So if you are someone who has some spare time and would like to volunteer in the youth space and sign up to become a volunteer, we would love to have you.
Okay.
Extra eyes at these things really help, whether it's just coming to help out with a disco or coming to drop in on a Monday to help cook some snags or shoot some hoops with the kids, play pickleball, whatever it may be. We are always wanting volunteers in the youth area. So
what we'll do is we'll put something on the end of this podcast that has all the contact details for the PCYC here in Hervey Bay.
Amazing.
So it'll stay there and people will be able to reach out to you. But I can just tell that you are so deeply passionate about the work that you're doing, and people are passionate about things, but you get results. Like you're shooting 100%. Yeah. So I take my hat off to you. Well done.
Thank you.
You're making a big difference to the youth in our community, Maddie, and
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.